Imagine waking up before sunrise, cold, hungry, and surrounded by darkness, so complete it feels alive. There is no clock, no calendar, no phone glowing beside your face, no numbers on a wall telling you where you are in the day. And yet, one mistake with time can kill you. If your group leaves the cave too early, predators still own the land. If you return too late, the forest swallows you in darkness. If you plant seeds at the wrong moment, the earth gives you nothing. If you follow the migrating animals one moon too late, your children starve. For ancient humans, time was not a schedule. Time was survival. So here is the strange question. How did people know when to wake, hunt, travel, plant, gather, hide, celebrate, or prepare for winter before clocks existed? How did they measure something invisible? How did they trap the day, the month, and the year inside their minds? The answer begins with fear. Long before numbers ruled our lives, the first clock was the sky. Every morning, the sun rose like a command. Every evening, it disappeared like a warning. Ancient people did not see sunrise as background scenery. They watched it like a living signal. The first light meant movement. The high sun meant heat, danger, and distance. The low sun meant urgency. The red sky meant the day was closing its jaws. A hunter stepping too far from camp had to read the sun carefully, not casually, not romantically, carefully. The shadow of a tree, the warmth of the stones, the angle of light on the ground, all of it mattered. A long shadow in the morning stretched one way. At midday, shadows became short and sharp. By evening, they stretched again, warning everyone to return. But then came the first terrifying problem. The sun vanished every night. For half of existence, ancient humans were thrown into darkness, and darkness had teeth. Lions, hyenas, wolves, snakes, and unseen things moved better than humans. So people needed another clock, something that survived the night. They found it above them. The moon. The moon was not just beautiful. It was a weapon against uncertainty. It changed shape in a pattern, slowly, night after night. A thin silver claw, a growing curve, a half-lit face, a round white eye. Then it shrank again, disappearing into blackness. To us, that is a lunar phase. To them, it was a countdown. Many ancient groups likely counted nights by watching the moon. A full moon could mean better night travel, brighter hunting, safer gatherings, dangerous exposure. A dark moon could mean deeper hiding, stronger fear, and shorter movement. Women, hunters, elders, and storytellers all watched the sky because the sky remembered what humans could not. But the moon created another mystery. It returned again and again. This repetition gave humans one of their first powerful ideas. Time was not only passing, time was circling. That changed everything. If the moon had a cycle, maybe animals had cycles, maybe rivers had cycles, maybe fruit, rain, cold, heat, insects, flowers, and storms all moved inside hidden patterns. Ancient people began to notice. Birds arrived before certain seasons. Fish appeared when waters changed. Plants bloomed before warm months. Certain stars rose before dry winds. The world was speaking in signals. And the people who heard those signals survived. Now the drama rises. Because day and night were not enough. The moon was not enough. Ancient humans needed to predict the year. A year is not obvious when you are hungry. You do not see the whole year at once. You feel it as hunger, cold, rain, heat, and memory. But over generations, people began to connect the clues. When a certain star appeared before sunrise, a season was coming. When shadows at noon grew longer, cold was approaching. When the sun rose at a slightly different point on the horizon, the year had moved. This is where timekeeping became almost magical. Ancient observers watched the horizon like detectives at a crime scene. The sun did not rise in the exact same place every day. It shifted slowly, almost secretly. To a distracted person, nothing changed. To a hungry tribe, everything changed. At one point in the year, the sun climbed higher. Days grew longer. Heat returned. At another point, it sank lower. Days shortened. Darkness expanded. The world was not random. The sun had a rhythm. So humans began marking it. Not with apps. Not with paper calendars. With stones, bones, scratches, posts, and memory. A stick in the ground could become a primitive clock. Its shadow move, and the day becomes visible. Mark the shortest shadow, and you find midday. Track the changing shadow across many days, and you begin to sense the season. This simple trick is astonishing. A shadow is just blocked sunlight, But in ancient hands, it became information. It became warning. It became power. Then came the stones. Imagine a group standing in a cold field before dawn. Around them are huge stones, carefully placed. The sky is dark. Everyone is waiting. Nobody speaks. Children shiver. Elders stare toward the horizon. Then, suddenly, the sun breaks through a precise gap between stones. That moment is not decoration. It is confirmation. The season has turned. The people now know when to gather, when to hunt, when to prepare, when to honor the dead, when to plant, or when to move. A sunrise lined up with stone could tell a whole community that the invisible wheel of the year had reached a critical point. And if they were wrong, hunger would punish them. But time was not only in the sky, it was also inside the body. The stomach became a clock. Hunger told people how long they had walked. Fatigue measured distance. Sleepiness marked darkness. Pain, thirst, body heat, and fear all shaped their sense of time. A mother knew how long a child could go without food. A hunter knew how long meat stayed fresh. A gatherer knew which berries appeared after certain rains. There were no written reminders, so memory had to become technology. Stories carried calendars. A myth about a bright star rising before the floods might actually preserve a survival pattern. A ritual held at the first full moon after cold weather might protect planting knowledge. A song about animals returning might teach children when to watch the valley. To modern ears, these stories sound magical. Buried inside them were instructions. Remember this sky. Remember this wind. Remember this bird. Remember this hunger. Remember or die. Then humanity made a dangerous leap. They stopped only reacting to time. They began controlling life around it. Once people could predict seasons, farming became possible. Farming demanded brutal precision. Plant too early, frost kills the seeds. Plant too late, heat destroys them. Harvest too soon, food is weak. Harvest too late, animals and weather take it back. Now time was no longer just survival. Time became civilization. Villages needed shared calendars. People had to agree when to plant, gather, store food, build shelters, hold ceremonies, and prepare for scarcity. The person who understood time became important. Maybe it was an elder, maybe a sky watcher, maybe a priest, maybe a storyteller. Whoever knew the pattern of the heavens held power over fear. That is the hidden twist. The first timekeepers were not simply scientists. They were guardians of survival. They watched the sky so others could sleep. They remembered patterns so children could eat. They turned sunlight, moonlight, shadows, stars, bones, stones, and stories into a map through chaos. And yet their system was fragile. A strange season could break it. Clouds could hide the moon. Storms could erase tracks. Smoke, migration, drought, sickness, or war could scatter the people who carried the memories. But without written records, a lost elder could mean a lost calendar. A forgotten story could mean a failed harvest. That is why ancient timekeeping feels so dramatic. It was never just about knowing the hour. It was about fighting forgetfulness in a world that offered no second chances. Even today, the evidence remains. Archaeologists have found ancient marks on bones that may represent lunar counts. Many prehistoric monuments align with solstices or important solar events. Traditional cultures around the world have used stars, animal behavior, plant cycles, tides, shadows, and seasonal winds to track time. These were not primitive guesses. They were careful observations repeated across generations. The clock on your wall is modern, but the instinct behind it is ancient. Every alarm you set is a descendant of someone watching dawn. Every calendar reminder comes from someone counting moons. Every deadline began with a deeper deadline, the last safe day before winter, the last chance before hunger, the last light before predators moved. So the next time you glance at the time and feel nothing, remember this. Once, time had no numbers. It had claws in the dark. It had cold wind at the cave mouth. It had a moon shrinking in the sky. It had shadows crawling across dirt. It had stars rising like warnings. It had elders whispering, not yet or now. And somewhere thousands of years ago, a human stood under the night sky, terrified, hungry, and brilliant, realizing the most important truth in history. If you can read time, you can survive tomorrow.